Welcome to the TDTV channel. We provide information on the battlefield about the Russo-Ukrainian war every day. Like and subscribe to support us. In the past 24 hours, according to Ukraine's state broadcaster Suspilne, there have been 29 strikes carried out by Russian troops in Donetsk region, and 14 settlements in the area have been shelled. A school in Kramatorsk was destroyed by a rocket attack, while 15 apartment buildings were damaged as well. The fighting in and around the eastern Ukrainian city persists, with both Kyiv and Moscow appearing to face shortages of ammunition and a rise in casualties. Desperate Russian forces are sticking 80-year-old naval guns on 70-year-old armoured tractors. In November 2021, 4 months before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Boris Johnson declared that the old concepts of fighting big tank battles on the European landmass are over. Today, dozens of destroyed Russian tanks dot Ukraine's eastern Donbas fields near Vuhilerd, smashed, rusting emblems of a traditional heavy warfare that has returned to Europe. As the war continues, there are suspicions that the Russian military forces have depleted their weapons and ammunition stockpiles. To compensate for their equipment shortage, the Russian army has resorted to retrofitting 80-year-old gun mounts that were initially constructed to arm patrol boats onto 70-year-old armoured tractors. These makeshift weapons are being sent to Ukraine, where they are being captured by the Ukrainian army. The addition of these upgraded tracked MTLBs is further proof of the Kremlin's deteriorating equipment crisis as it grapples with replacing the losses it has suffered in Ukraine. In recent weeks, Ukrainian forces have captured several unusual MTLBs, which appear to have been retrofitted with old naval gun mounts. The first of these vehicles was captured in Vuhledar in February and featured a Tum-7 gunboat turret, which had been in service with the Soviet forces since 1945. Later in March, photos emerged of MTLBs with Tum-3 naval turrets welded to their roofs. The Tum-3, which entered service in 1953, consists of two 25mm autocannons in an enclosed casing. It should be noted that Ukrainian forces have also bolted unusual weapons to some of their own MATLBs, such as the MT-12 100mm guns. However, the key difference between the Ukrainian and Russian MTBs is their range. While the MTLB-12 can fire up to 9,000 yards, the Russian MTLB Tum-37 has a maximum range of only 2,700 yards when engaging ground targets. It's possible that the Russian MTLB Tum-37 has an anti-aircraft role, but without a radar to guide its gunfire, it would be a poor air defense system. These makeshift weapons on the MATLBs are evidence of the Russian military's equipment crisis as they struggle to make up for their losses in Ukraine. It's not hard to see why the Russian army has resorted to up-arming MTLBs and sending them to the front. After losing more than 9,000 tanks, fighting vehicles, trucks and howitzers in the first year of its wider war on Ukraine, the Russians are running low on modern armoured vehicles, and they can't build new ones fast enough to make up for it. Which is why the Kremlin is pulling out of long-term storage hundreds of 50-year-old T-62 tanks, 60-year-old BMP-1 fighting vehicles and 70-year-old BTR. Armoured tractors, these awkwardly up-gunned armoured tractors, these awkwardly up-gunned MTLBs just further underscore the Russians' growing desperation. The UK Defence Ministry's intelligence update on March 6 revealed that the Russian military has resorted to deploying 60-year-old T-62 main battle tanks due to significant losses of heavy equipment in the ongoing conflict. Moreover, the report stated that the 1st Guards Tank Army, Russia's most elite tank force, may also be re-equipped with T-62s, posing a realistic possibility. As per the ministry, nearly 862s have been retrieved from storage and have undergone some upgrades, such as improved sighting systems that may enhance their effectiveness during nighttime operations. In addition, the update indicated that Russian BTR-50 armoured personnel carriers, which were first used in 1954, have been seen in Ukraine recently. Nevertheless, the report emphasized that both these antiquated machines have several vulnerable points on the modern battlefield due to their lack of modern armor to protect against explosions. KRAKEN Special Unit destroys observation tower near Russia's Bryansk. KRAKEN, the special unit of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine's Defense Ministry, has announced that they destroyed the Grenadier Autonomous Observation Tower in Russia's Bryansk Oblast using a Kamikaze drone. The relevant video was published on Telegram of KRAKEN. It shows that the tower was destroyed on the second attempt. Using a Kamikaze drone, the intelligence forces of the KRAKEN Special Unit destroyed the Grenadier Autonomous Observation Tower in Bryansk Oblast. However, the unit did not specify when this happened. KRAKEN is an elite unit of Ukrainian defense forces established shortly after the start of Russian invasion, and pretty soon it was involved in important operations against Russian forces, particularly in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine. Russia launches 15 Shaheds, Ukraine's air defenses down 13 of them. The Air Force shot down 13 of the 15 Shahed Kamikaze drones that the Russians launched into Ukraine on the night of March 6. Yuri Ignat, Ukrainian Air Force spokesman, said on television the drones had taken off from the north, namely Russia's Bryansk Oblast. The eastern city of Kramatorsk, still under Ukrainian control, was particularly hit. Shahed 131 and Shahed 136 flying bombs have cruising speeds of 150 km, meaning they could make the journey from their launch site to targets in Kyiv, in Kyiv in an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, Russia hopes the shorter flying time because of the closer launch site will make it more likely that more of the drones will evade air defenses and reach their targets. The Iranian drones, dubbed flying lawnmowers in Ukraine due to their distinctive rotor engine sound, are relatively small and can fly low, making it more difficult to spot them on radar. During the day, they are even vulnerable to machine gun fire from the ground, so Russia now launches them at Ukraine only at night. Russia has started using the northern direction for launching kamikaze drones, presumably due to the shorter distance the Shahed will fly over Ukrainian territory. According to Yuri Ignat, the enemy initially used the south of Ukraine, namely Crimea and the Kherson region, until the deoccupation of the right bank of Kherson. Later, the occupiers moved to the eastern coast of the Azov Sea. He said, the reason may be simple. If their targets are set on Kyiv, then here it's simply more practical. Shorter distance, fewer enemy drones will fly over Ukrainian territory where there are fire weapons, anti-aircraft missile systems, mobile fire groups, and destroyers that work on these Shaheds. Therefore, on the way to Kyiv, they were destroyed by the air commands south and east, and now only from the north, a fairly short distance. So it is likely that this method was chosen from this direction. Russian state television commentator: Putin won't live to see Ukraine victory, Russia state TV fears. According to a Russian state television commentator, Russian President Vladimir Putin and other leading Kremlin figures may not live long enough to see any successes for Moscow in Ukraine. Despite Russia making some progress in its invasion effort, one state media pundit questioned the timeline of the war, which could last for decades. Any hopes for a quick victory in Ukraine were quickly dashed for Putin after Russian troops poured into Ukraine on February 24, 2022. The war has now been described as attritional and may end up as a protracted conflict, not unlike the 10-year-long Soviet war in Afghanistan during the 1980s. Speculation has surrounded Putin's health throughout the war so far, but little is known for certain about the 70-year-old's medical record. Speaking on the Russia, one state television channel, Sergei Mikheyev, commentator and political scientist, suggested the Ukraine war could outlast the lifespan of many, including the Kremlin's top figures. In a clip translated and posted by journalist Julia Davis, he told guests, including anchor Vladimir Solovyov, if we keep proceeding in this manner and at this speed, you and I won't live long enough to see any successes. Mikheyev added, let's be honest with ourselves. Our leadership won't live long enough for that either. G continued, if we move at this speed, this will last for decades. In comments shared on Telegram on February 28, former Kremlin aide Sergei Markov said the war could last beyond 2 decades. The Russian invasion has lasted longer than it was planned and expected, and there is no end in sight, Markov said. Mikheyev, speaking in the clip posted to Twitter on Sunday, suggested that one of the simple things Moscow could be doing to shorten the war would be blocking Western politicians from traveling to Ukraine. President Joe Biden made a surprise visit to Kyiv in February, as did Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Our position has severely worsened, Mikheyev added. We either move forward and stop imitating sovereignty and truly achieve a success, or we retreat with a massive failure. Thank you for watching video. Leave a comment below to discuss today's topic. Click subscribe and bell to not miss our videos onto TV News. See you in the next videos.